concerns. So you could mute your mic. All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me on this one. This discussion, this topic we're going to discuss today is a very important topic that a couple of builders and a couple of founders or entrepreneurs or engineers may be overlooking in this world of AI. The buzz of AI is everywhere, and everyone is looking to integrate AI into their solutions and all that. Say, okay, we have an AI powered marketplace, we have this AI solution, we have this AI SaaS solution and whatnot. But building an AI product or solution has its own pros and cons, right? There are rudiments to make sure that the AI solution that you're building, right, is not bringing harm to the users, and is also safe and reliable for the intended users or the people that are actually using it. And that brings us to the ethical ways in which you can develop or build an AI solution, right? Responsible AI is the knowledge of responsible AI has been a global issue in recent times because of the emerging trends around artificial intelligence, especially generative AI, which we can always reference ChatGPT, right, as the popular generative AI. Then we have Gemini, we have other co-pilots, we have the Bing and whatnot, right? So in this few short minutes, as much as I'd love to share more, in these few short minutes, I'll just take you on the journey of responsible AI. So sit tight, fasten your seatbelt, and let's learn a little bit on how to build an AI product responsibly. And once again, my name is S.A. Jubroma. All right. In developing an AI solution, right, there are rudiments, there are need requirements that has to be put in place, right? From the data collection, from the pre-processing stage to cleaning the data, transforming the data, and storing that data in the data warehouse, and training your models, testing the models, and before you launch the models, the different stages and processes that come in play, right? But what is responsible AI? What is this whole talk about responsible AI? Responsible AI is simply the way and manner in which the rudiments, the steps in which you design, in which you build, in which you develop, and in which you launch your AI solution. Do you understand? It is the practice, the rudiments, the steps, the careful steps in which you take in designing, developing, and deploying or launching your AI solution. Because it's important that any AI solution that you build is actually reliable, is actually safe and secured, and is also accountable to the users that actually use that AI solution, right? And not to waste further time, there are key principles to actually guide the process of developing an AI solution. There are 6 key principles to actually develop, to actually guide you when developing an AI solution. The first thing is fairness. Fairness. Your AI solution must be fair to all, right? You cannot, it's not ideal to build an AI solution that is racist based. An AI solution that when a white man uses it or when a black man uses it, it gives racial or discriminatory remarks, right? You don't build an AI product that that is tribalistic, right? You say, okay, no, this AI product, like for instance, now in Nigeria, there are some tribal wars here and there. These ones will say we're the ones that have Lagos. These ones will say we're the ones that have this side and whatnot. And maybe you develop an AI product or an AI solution that is tribalistic, that discriminates people based on the tribe or even the religion, right? So it's good that you build an AI solution that accommodates all, right, from different walks of life and does not discriminate anyone based on their ethnicity, their religious belief, and also, their ethnicity, their religious beliefs, and their personal beliefs also. The next thing is reliability and safety. Your AI solution has to be reliable. It has to be reliable. Let us look at a typical example of where AI needs to be reliable. Let's look at let's look at autonomous vehicles. Let's look at Tesla, for instance. Just imagine a situation where you build an autonomous vehicle, and you say it's self-driving, right? And your user decides to slip off, but it's already put on the map that I'm going to so and so place, right? And you find yourself in the middle of the bush, right? You find yourself in the middle of the bush, or the brake system fails, and you get an accident. The driver gets involved in an accident. It has to be reliable. So when you build your AI solution, it needs to go through thorough processes of rigorous testing to see that, to assure and ensure that it's actually reliable and it's actually safe before deployment, right? The next thing is privacy and security. AI should be secure and respect privacy. It's interesting that when you are developing an AI model, it's no brainer that you have to, you use a vast amount of data, and you also use people's sensitive data, right? Informations from individuals, from companies, from organizations, and let's look at the healthcare sector, for instance, right? You use people's sensitive information sometimes to train a particular model. It's important that that model is well secured, and so that the information of the sensitive information and data of individuals, organizations that was used to train that model does not leak or get into the hands of the wrong people. So it's important that when you're building an AI solution, right, you carry out the necessary security checks to make sure that it's well secured and the privacy of individuals are well protected. Now, the next principle is inclusiveness. And I've spoken, a bit about some of the factors of inclusiveness also has to do with fairness. But let me talk about inclusivity, right? Let me use Nigeria, for instance, right? Now, in Nigeria, there are certain laws that are not permitted in this country. And one of that is currently it's the same-sex marriage, right? And the fact that you're building an AI solution and you feel that because Nigerian laws does not permit, then your AI solution, for instance, now discriminates people that are of different sexual orientation, binary, non-binary, and transgender and whatnot, and you build a solution that is discriminatory of those people, it's believed that that is not an ethical way to build an AI solution, because an AI solution should not discriminate anyone based on their sexual orientation, based on their ethnicity, based on their gender, or what other factors that may come in play. You should build an AI solution that accommodates all, from different walks of life and all and sundry. The next is transparency. It's beautiful that when you are building it's paramount that when you are building your AI solution, right, you are able to also tell your users the limitations, most especially the limitations. When you ask ChatGPT some questions, it tells you that, or even prior to you asking some questions or prompting some questions, it tells you that I am trained with information that is, from 2010 or from 2020 and whatnot, right? It tells you its ability, it tells you what it can do and what it cannot do, currently, right? It tells you, so you need to be transparent, with your users on the capabilities, the abilities, the limitations of your AI solution, right? And also the purpose for the AI solution. So you can build a GBT that is just for financial analysis. So if someone is coming to if someone is signing up and types a prompt and is looking for relationship advice, when your generative AI solution or your GPT model is just for financial analysis, right? You have to specify there that this AI model is just to answer finance related questions and deal with finance related matters, right? So someone that has a relationship problem should not come there and and begin to ask how do I fix my relationship. Do you understand? Or else the person is trying to say, this person is trying to prompt the AI model to say how much allowance should I be collecting from my boyfriend, or how much allowance should I be giving to my girlfriend, noting the fact that I earn 70,000 minimum wage and whatnot. Just maybe the model should be able to advise it based on that, because the usage of that model is for financial analysis and financial management. So it's always good to specify the purpose for which that AI model is going to be used for. The next is accountability. Accountability. You need to understand that in building an AI product, in building an AI solution, there are standards. And in Nigeria of recent, we've seen a lot of scandals, we've seen a lot of issues on the news, especially with the fintech founders, where there are a lot of compliance issues. They're getting locked up, they're getting called out and whatnot, right? It's important that also while you're building an AI product, that you're compliant with the standards, you're compliant with the legal standards, you're compliant with the laws, with the policies and laws that guides the development of that AI product, and also the laws and policies that actually apply to your industry, right? So if you're building an AI in agriculture, you also have to, comply with the laws within the agricultural sector, within the agricultural, industry also, so that you're compliant. And you also make sure that you actually, build that AI product you build that AI product in accordance with these standards and, with these laws and policies that guide your industry, and also building an AI product. So moving up from that, before we get to the 4 stages and process, develop and implement a responsible AI, I just want to be sure that we are all following. So if you have learned something interesting and you are, enjoying the flow on how, the key principles in which AI should be developed, please, send in your reactions, and let me drink some water. Okay, it's just Benjamin that is following. Okay, Moses is following. Okay. All right. So now takes us to one of the crucial steps, and it's important that you follow this step by step. Now, there's a 4-stage process to develop and implement a plan for responsible AI, right? So follow this one after the other. So one of the first thing you need to do is you need to set up what is called scenario planning. People that work in cybersecurity or risk management are aware with, they know this very well. Scenario planning. So when you're carrying out your scenario planning, you need to be able to think outside the box, of potential harms. What kind of attacks, what kind of cyber attacks can be done, to this AI solution. So you need to think outside the box. You need to assess, you need to evaluate and identify potential harms that could actually affect this AI solution, right? You need to actually check for unsafe words, right? Maybe harmful words, maybe that promotes chaos, that promotes sexual violence, that promotes anarchy, that promotes insurgency, terrorism. Check. And when you are carrying out, identifying those potential harms, right? Then you now need to measure, you need to quantify if this you need to set a metric. You need to set a metric that measures and quantifies, the level of this harm and what this harm, what these potential dangers could actually cause, to the model, right? And the next thing you need to do is mitigate. You need to create a mitigation plan, to deal with these harms at multiple levels. Now, one of the ways you can actually mitigate is through content filtering. Content filtering, right? So content filtering is where you're able to set up a measure. Content filtering is actually a feature that is used for red teaming. Red teaming, which is red teaming is pretty much like pen testing, like penetration testing. What you do is you keep testing. You think of potential attacks, right? You think of potential prompts that could bring about negative answers. Let's say you're building a generative AI model, and you test it, right? So you can prompt your model and say how to kill a young man, for instance, right? And you see what's going to be the likely answer. Then you can prompt the model and say who is going to win the next US election, and what strategies can Trump do to win the elections, right? So you prompt, you try out some prompts, right? That because you don't want your model to give information that could lead to anarchy or misinformation and prompt people to do, negative things. So through content filtering, you remove certain words, you remove unsafe words, right? So once anyone types any of those unsafe words, it actually quarantines that. It actually, it actually takes that away, right? And it does not give an answer, right? Or it gives a response that, that rejects, right? Or a disclaimer to state that it does not, it does not give opinion or responses on such matters, right? Then the next thing is to actually create a readiness plan, right? Is to create a readiness plan. This readiness plan is very important. This readiness plan is pretty much like a disaster recovery plan. It's pretty much like a disaster recovery plan because in IT you have to create a disaster recovery plan, a business continuity and disaster recovery plan. So and that's the same thing for AI. When you're building an AI solution, you need to also create a readiness plan. And this readiness plan means you need to create, before you release your solution, before you launch your solution into the market, you need to create what is called a complete pre-release review, right? And this pre-release review is a document that carries out, is a document that entails the compliance, the different compliance that AI solution must meet, from the legal to the privacy to the security, and also the the accessibility of this AI solution. So I didn't add this to the slide. but it's important that I mention that one of the key ways, a step-by-step plan that could actually help to, that could be your disaster recovery plan or your readiness plan, your operational readiness plan, to help you prevent, react, and recover from any potential attack on your AI solution. Is one of the first things you can do is you can create a phase delivery plan, that enables you to release the solution, your AI solution, initially to a restricted group of users, right? So it's, also when you're building your software product, when you release a particular version, sometimes you don't give it to the public, to use first. So you sometimes you bring, for some of you that develop solutions in the VR or, game development, you give it to particular game testers, right? You give it to those game testers to run it, to play it, to check for vulnerabilities, to check for performance and whatnot. So it's also important that when you build your AI solution, right, before you release it to the public, you create an initial plan where you actually, introduce it to a restricted group of users where they test it, right? And you're able to gather feedback, and they're able to help you identify problems before releasing that to the general public, right? The next thing is that you create an incident response plan. So now this incident response plan, it includes the estimated time that is taken to respond to unanticipated events, right? It gives you this, this mean recovery time that if we have this attack, in how many seconds should our system be back? In how many seconds should the AI solution be back up and running, right? Then another important thing is a rollback plan. A rollback plan, is a plan that defines a step, to revert the solution to a previous state in the event of an incident. It's just more like it's just more like it's just more like formatting, right? So let's say the breach on your AI solution actually cost some loss of data, right? It's just the rollback plan is the way and manner in which you're able to retrieve the data that was lost, the data that was tampered within the shortest possible time, and restore your solution back, to the way it was, right? And the last but not the least is you need to actually implement a way, for users to actually give you feedback. Because, when you're building an AI solution, one of the ways that an AI solution becomes very intelligent is through reinforcement learning and human feedback. Reinforcement learning and human feedback. Now, human feedbacks are very important because, and you need to set up a way and manner, a plan in which you're able to track human feedbacks, right? Because these human feedbacks help you, it enables your users to actually report, generated content from your solution that was inaccurate, incomplete, harmful, offensive, or otherwise problematic, right? So this information helps you to, go back and, refine your solution to make it serve your users better, right? So that is that on that, on, the different principles and the stages to developing a responsible AI. Thank you for listening, and I'll be open to questions. Benjamin, you want to ask a question?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
I think
Man, I'm sorry, I don't know where I am currently. It's just raining, and I'm not too far
okay.
from. So I'm sorry if you can hear the sound, the patters on the roof. Okay, so my question is, I think that should be your second bullet point where you talk about inclusiveness or inclusivity. Am I right?
That's not necessarily the second, but yeah, it's one of it. Go
Okay,
ahead, please.
so my question is, most of the product we or most of the platforms we kind of use um, are not actually built for the African market, or should I say Nigeria in particular, because I notice there are some tasks I try to do sometimes, or some images, or sometimes I just notice some kind of fault or some lapses in some of these platforms. So, and I've been actually discussing with a couple of friends and with some colleagues too. Okay, how do we actually see, or how do we, how is it possible for us to actually build and a system that actually includes the African ecosystem, or Nigeria in particular? For example, ChatGPT. Okay, I know ChatGPT includes, or maybe Gemini, Hausa, Igbo, and maybe Yoruba. But even then, if it gets to some deeper part of it, it actually starts hallucinating or something like that. And even other languages we have, okay, unlike other countries where, okay, they include their language like Mandarin and all of that. So my question regarding that inclusiveness: how do we actually build a system that actually involves everyone? A system that even my dad in the village, or sorry, my granddad in the village could actually use, you know, freely and easily without the hiccups we have currently in the system. So that's my little concern.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Benjamin. Can you hear me clearly, though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hear me? The first thing is that you should AIs, they are built on LLMs, right? Large language models. The fact that they're on large language models and millions and billions of tokens does not mean that there's actually one generative AI or one large language model that can accommodate the entire needs of the world, right? So this is a wake up call for Africans to actually build, AI solutions that are niche down to serve various purposes, right? So you can actually build AI products or solutions to serve various purposes, right? Because now they are diversifying. There's AI in agriculture, right? There's AI in healthcare. There's AI, across various industries. So you can actually build a generative AI, a conversational AI. You can actually build a conversational AI that is actually African based, right? Fed with African data, but it's also still going to take a lot of time. Because if you want to build an AI that is African centered, that means you need to be able to gather data and have data annotators across the continent, right? That is not just gathering this data, but it's also labeling this data correctly for you to be able to train that model. Because the ChatGPT that we use today was trained over 10 years, right? It was not an overnight success, right? So this is just a wake up call for us to be able to build AI solutions that are African centered. But currently and even in the near future, I don't think that there is any particular LLM that can be built that will serve the entire needs of the world at large.
So do we have any other question from anyone? Any other question?
Go ahead, Moses.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, Moses. Benjamin, could you mute your mic so that Moses will be audible?
All right, let me do that.
Yeah, Moses, go ahead.
Okay, good evening once again. Great session so far. I've learned a couple of things. My question is, how do we Africans, I'm speaking about the whole continent and, well, with context to Nigeria as well, how do we deal with bias from AI systems? Because as we know, they are largely trained on data from the internet, right? And naturally one would see that there's more content from the West and from developed countries than there is from developing countries. And so it is possible, although we haven't seen like clear cases of such, but it's possible that when we want to apply some of these models to our own local use cases, they might not be as beneficial as we would expect them to be, or that they might end up inheriting or reproducing some of the biases we see on the internet every day. So for somebody who wants to build applications with AI for our own purposes, how do they deal with bias from these models or these AI products? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moses. That is a very valid question. That's a very valid question. The key thing you need to first address is your data collection strategy, right? What sources are you going to collect your data from? That is because it's what you feed, it's what you train your model with, it's what you feed your model with, that is, relatively more or less what it gives you, right? So the question is what you should focus on is how you source for your data, right? Because currently a lot of models are built on open source, right? And if you look at Nigeria now, there's a problem with centralized data, getting data and whatnot. But congratulations that the government of the day, though a lot of youths on social media don't agree with a couple of revolutions that are happening. But congratulations that to Nigerians that the government of the day has set up a national center for artificial intelligence research, in Abuja, right? And what they are doing is they've created a data warehouse, right? They've created a data warehouse, and they've actually built two AI models, right? And this data warehouse is going to be it's going to be a point where Nigerians that are building LLMs or SLMs, small language models or AI solutions across, are able to get curated data, right, from them via open source, right? Another way is when you train your data, from the unstructured, that's from unsupervised learning to supervised learning, is that you also have to work with human feedbacks, right? You have to work with human feedbacks. That's what takes you to the reinforcement learning and human feedback, where you have to introduce this to specific numbers of users, and you let them red team, carry out red teaming or crash testing, or test they test that AI product, they test the solution with all sorts of words, with all kinds of prompts, right? Prompt practitioners that test with all kinds of prompts to actually reduce bias, to actually reduce the degree of error, and also to test for latency, right? To also see that if this number of users are currently using a solution at the moment, would it reduce the effectiveness, or will it, reduce the performance of the particular, GPT or the particular model that you're actually building, right? So these processes has to be put in place, do you understand, to actually reduce bias, but everything narrows down to where you actually get your data, right? So aside leveraging on open source, it's also important that you gather data from the horse's mouth. Go out there, administer questionnaires, carry out interviews, do you understand, run these surveys personally, right? Gather this data from the horse's mouth, so you're able to fine-tune your model with real-life data, and also blend it with the open source data to reduce bias. Did I answer your question, Moses?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
All right then.
Okay. So if we have no other question for...
Sorry, apologies. One more question.
Okay,
One more
right,
question.
right.
You talked about... Sorry to interrupt. You talked about the Artificial Intelligence Research Center here in Abuja. How does one get information about them, stuff they're working on, and if the opportunities to get involved, like how do we get information about that? Thank you.
All right. The National Center for Artificial Intelligence Research is actually accessible. You tap that on Instagram, you find that. You type that on Google, you'll be able to, find their Instagram page. You can actually send them a message. They also have a website, right? And even currently, they are running a cohort where they are training, individuals, young people from the ages of 18 to 35 on data science, robotics, Internet of Things, and embedded systems, right? They're currently running the course where they're actually training young people, on that to actually, promote the knowledge of artificial intelligence. But they're quite accessible. Just take note of the name, National Center for Artificial Intelligence Research, in Nigeria. Put that in your browser and your search engine, and you'll be able to get more information.
Okay, guys.
Any more questions?
All right. Thank you very much, SA, for that session. That was brief and very informative. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you everyone for the call. Yeah, I usually don't want our call to go beyond an hour because it's just like a brief monthly session for us to come and talk about the contemporary issues surrounding AI and all. So I thank you all today for making it out with us, and once again, thank you, SA. We hope to see more of you in subsequent monthly sessions. And if we have no other question, I think that will be the size of it for today and for this month's Pan AI. So once again, I want to say have a lovely weekend, have a lovely evening, and wherever you are, you're partying or wherever you are, just be safe and take care. Bye, everyone.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
and it was nice being here. Cheers.